What is going on, folks? Will Turbid here. Fake Mike. Real news. We are back live. Well, not really live. We tried to be live with Fritz Springmeier. We're usually live with Fritz Springmeier, but when you're chatting with Fritz Springmeier, unfortunately, the electronic boogeyman comes out of the woodworks and makes things very difficult. We were supposed to be live 40 minutes ago, but we will be premiering this hopefully live soon. And uh, Fritz, welcome back. We had quite the discussion last time, and it was really eye opening. The listeners really loved it. It was super deep for me too. I took a lot from it, especially loving your enemies and remembering that these are the people that we're trying to wake up. We started talking about the central bank digital currencies. I don't know if you wanted to start off kind of giving us an overview of what we talked about last time, or wherever you want to pick it up, Fritz.
Okay, thanks. Hello to all your listeners. And Will, I want your listeners to realize that you've been really helpful to me. And I really appreciate all the help you've given me, brother. And today I wanted to talk about the digital prison that they're creating for us. And I have so much to talk about. I was going to just hope that people understood what the CBDC is, central bank digital currency. I discussed that. It's basically uh, follows Revelations 13, Revelation 14, where you can't buy or sell without their permission. It's a digital programmable currency. It would get rid of cash, but CBDCs work with basically three other components. And so today I wanted to talk about these other components. And so the first component of the four is uh, if we have CBDCs, then the next one that it integrates with is facial recognition and digital ID. And then that integrates with the beast computers, which are using AI, which is artificial intelligence. And then that connects in with their agendas. They have a green agendas and they have sustainability agendas, vaccinations, global warming, um, mega smart cities. And an example of this is the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, which every nation of the United Nations passed. Nobody abstained from it. Everybody was like, yeah, let's go for these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So that should show you that Satan's world is not divided. And we'll cover that too. But I wanted to take these sequentially. So uh, there's a lot of new terms for people that aren't familiar with these kind of things. New terms like social credit scoring, carbon footprint. What is social credit scoring? Well, it's where they watch everything that you do, and as the more politically correct you are and the more your actions follow what the government wants, the better your score. And then that score is used to determine a lot of things. For instance, you probably heard that they'll give a UBI, which is a universal basic income. Everybody's going to love this. Oh yeah, we're all taken care of. There's a universal basic income that everybody's just given right across the board. Well, that works real fine if you have a CBDC. You just automatically give that to everybody. However, if somebody is not politically correct, you take it away. You lock it up so that they can't use it. What is a carbon footprint? That's another thing, another term that people want to use. Well, that's how much carbon you're releasing into the atmosphere. That goes along with their uh, what they call global warming. So you breathing, you're letting out carbon. So you're making a carbon footprint just by breathing. What's the Internet of Eyes? We'll discuss that. What are smart items? Smart items are intelligent items. They can make anything intelligent. They can make your shirt intelligent. They can make a light pole intelligent, which we're going to discuss. They make lights smart. So there's smart lights, smart poles, smart cities, and that all plays in to this agenda that locks us into prison, and we'll discuss that. And then there's the term new social contract, which the elite use. I mean, social contract. I don't remember signing any contract. No, they left us out, but it involves us. It determines whether we should be allowed to breathe and live and whatnot. And then there's something called geofencing. That's like the fence of the prison, but it's totally digital. And then there's something called the metaverse. What's the metaverse? Uh, that's that's totally artificial. It's virtual reality. It doesn't exist in the real world. It's a reality that exists in cyberspace. But people are already going there. They're buying art. They're meeting other people in the metaverse. And how's that play into all of this? And then there's other terms that we'll bump into, and I'll probably explain as we go along. So the first thing that I wanted to deal with is facial recognition and digital ID. The digital ID is equal essentially to digital prison. Now think about it. When you go to prison, what do? They give you a number. They give you an ID. Well, what is your digital identity? Well, it's much more than just a number. Everything about you is currently in cyberspace on blockchain. And it includes, they've already given you a social, just like I was saying earlier, your score, your social credit score. They've been giving that to Americans, even though they don't publicize it. So, so let's look at how this works. Here in the United States, we've got 50 million cameras that now, I'm talking about now, currently, that are connected to the internet. And worldwide, we've got 20 billion cameras that are connected to the internet. Now, your smartphones, your smart cell phone, it's got a 3D camera with a laser. That laser looks out there. You can't see it, but it looks out there and it sees your face, right? And so it sees key points for facial recognition. So they're tracking your face all the time. Everybody that's running around with these cell phones, they're tracking that. Plus, so they're watching you, but also on top of that, the cell phone is listening. And this is all going to the cloud. It's all going to cyberspace. It's all being dragged into the beast computers, so they have had voice recognition since the 1970s, where they could identify everybody. Are we still on? Are we still on? Okay. Okay, facial recognition. That's where you're going with this. So there's cameras everywhere. People don't realize this. You go into a retail store, there's cameras everywhere. Take, for instance, Walmart. You would be surprised at how many cameras are there. You go to the bus station. Later, they're going to be using drones. Now, this latest war in the Ukraine shows Russia and Ukraine both using drones in a big way. And they're seeing the limitations and how good drones work in this war. And later, drones are going to be flying all around us. They're going to be the police, the eyes in the sky. So they've been installing smart lights all across the United States. Now the little tiny villages don't have it, but like my town here, which isn't that big, it's already got smart lights. So they're selling these as, oh, we're going to conserve energy, and we got to watch out for global warming. And then they're putting in smart poles everywhere, which have radar. And then they're building smart cities. All this is important for this digital ID that they're creating. So the smart city grid is integrated with 5G. I told you we were going to talk some about 5G. And the smart cables, they've built smart cables everywhere underground. So the smart lights that they're building have LED. Those LED, some of them have incapacitators. So they sort of look like concert light, red, green, blue, um, and they can not these lights can not only hurt you. Well, that blue LED light is very dangerous. They're going to blind most of us because everybody looks at these LED lights and don't know they're dangerous. But also, if they turn it up, these LED lights can kill people. I mean, they affect the spine. They go right in. They can affect your whole body to such a degree that they could kill you. So eventually, uh, they could actually use these to take out people that they don't like, the ones that they've already installed. And so the radar is connected to AI. And although they haven't told us, if you're in a smart city and you're walking along the sidewalk and you got a gun, these smart poles can already detect that you have a gun. And then maybe later they'll want to turn on the power where they kill you. Um, so geofencing is where they use the digital, this whole digital thing, the beast computers with their AI, your digital ID, your social credit score, to lock you in, and and into a part of this is the same thing that when you go into prison. Let's see if I can find my note. See if I can find my notes on this. Well, I don't see my notes, but I know what I want to say, and that is, um, when you go into prison, the prison staff automatically assumes that you're not trustworthy. So everything you do, they work off the assumption that there's zero trust. You know, it, that so you could say that when we get this digital ID, we're going to be operating in a zero trust protocol or zero trust climate. That means you're you're going to have to prove every time you go to do any human activity that you're worthy to do that. So let's say you want to email someone. Well, it will check your digital ID and see if you're worthy to send an email. You want to buy 2 gallons of milk instead of one. It will see if you're worthy. It'll be checking your carbon footprint. It'll be checking how politically correct you are, all these other things. And then they can shut you down with the CBDC. They can shut you down in other ways too. It's more than just the CBDC. They can shut you down because you'll be locked out of anything. You can't unlock anything to get in unless that you're trustworthy enough. So we see that we're moving somewhat in this direction already. So my car had an fell apart. And so I was at the side of the road. I have AAA. I called AAA. They said, well, you need to use the Lyft app, you know, download the Lyft app, and then you can call someone like a cab. Well, in the event, we didn't go that route. But in some cities, you can't get a cab unless you use an app. You just can't call a cab. You got to use an app. Well, eventually they'll shut down these apps, and they will push us over to using virtual reality headset, which is the metaverse. And then everybody's going to be squeezed year by year into using the metaverse more and more. You'll be shopping in the metaverse. Everything is going to be in the metaverse because they are using digital ID, will, for everything. It's not just for people. Every animal will have a digital ID. Every tree will have a digital ID. Everything's going to be ID. And you may say, well, what's going on here? Well, basically what's going on is the elite are addicted to control. They are addicts, just like you have an alcoholic. He keeps he's got to have his alcohol. Just like a drug addict, he's got to have his drugs. Well, these people are control addicts. They've got to have more and more control. They are addicted to control. So the NSA has way enough control this year, but the next year they've got to get even more control. You know, they're going to control every blade of grass if they could. So let's then go to how they can do that. That's the beast computers. I've been exposing the beast computers for at least 30 years. And they were already using the beast computers back. They had 3 of them back in the Carter administration. Now they have a lot more. And the beast computers have AI. And with that, they can figure, they know you better than yourself. They know how you're going to think. And it's called predictive policing. They can anticipate crime, including thought crime, right? So it's pre-crime. Your actions may possibly predict a crime. So likewise, when they have children, the computers can predict pathways that these children will go. And they can use prodigy asset groups to steer that child in the right direction. So they've got all of these ways of behavior modification. I did quite a bit of work on mind control, and I don't even understand all the methods of mind control that are going to be used by the beast computers. But all this is AI. It's not humans. It's all AI. And when they are able to watch everything that you do, and then they're able to get inside of you, whether it's through chips or all these other things, that's called hacking humans. They're going to be hacking humans. And so let's go back a little bit historically and look when this first was thought up. It will surprise people. This goes back to I've written a whole bunch of articles. I wrote articles on the beast computer, mind control, the Kabbalah and the beast computers, the metaverse, energy control, predictive programming, all these things I've written on. And there was a man, his name was, actual name was Elijah ben Solomon Zalman, but they called him the Vilna Gaon. He was a genius in Kabbalah. He lived from 1720 to 1797. And he predicted, or I call it prediction or forecasting. People that are Kabbalists just say he was just reporting what's there, you know. But he used Kabbalistic techniques to predict that in the future there would be what we call supercomputers, this AI, collecting all the data on everybody. And so he predicted where we're at right now. He wrote a secret book called the Kol HaTor, which it wasn't available to the public until just recently. And he makes some really wild predictions in there, which are shockingly true. He said that in the last days, there would be a generation X, Y, and Z. And then the final one would be Gen T, which right now is coming into puberty. And if you go online, you'll actually see people using the term Gen T, Generation T, generation transition. It's amazing. And that he could foretell this clear back a couple hundred years ago that we would have a Generation X, a Generation Z. Anyway, he called this New World Order period the Gulag. Almost sounds like gulag. And he said that this prediction, this Kabbalistic prediction of technology, that technology in the end times would be a holy sacrament to allow mankind salvation. So he's predicting salvation through the beast computers. Interestingly, there was a book, sci-fi conspiracy novel called Reality, written by a man, D.C. Wentz, in 2019. And he has a supercomputer controlling the world, and its name is Metatron. And that's an interesting name too. So uh, let's look a little bit at these agendas. Uh, so, I was saying that a good example of the agendas that they're bringing down the highway is the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals of the United Nations that every nation in the world signed on to. So I got a list here of 5 of them, and I'm going to use my notes because that's a little bit easier to so I don't have to pull it up by memory. So here are 5 of their 17 sustainable development goals. One is gender equality. What's that? The LGBT, okay, gays, you think you're an apple, your gender is an apple then, you know. Um, if you're a man and you want to consider yourself a woman, gender equality, And then quality education. Well, who defines what quality education is? The elite, it's going to be education to make us good serfs. And then sustainable cities is a goal. Well, think green and smart cities. And then they have responsible consumption. Well, what would that be? Well, you can interpret that as like carbon footprint, right? Responsible consumption. And then life on land. So they want to, with that goal, halt land degradation. Well, what do they consider degrading the land? They consider animals are a burden. Let's quit raising animals. The cattle are degrading the land. Well, animals are not a burden. There's a guy out there, Joe Salatin, and he does permaculture, and he shows that he explains in detail how animals and plants coexist. I mean, a lot of what they're bringing to the table is just pure baloney, or the vernacular is BS. Um, but who has a 2030 vaccination agenda where they want to bring in 300 vaccines? Um, they have this little catchphrase, no human left behind. Oh my goodness. I want to be left behind. I don't want to be part of their 300 vaccination agenda. Um, Water rationing. When you go to a smart city and you see this tracking of traffic, monitoring, they call it monitoring traffic. Well, what that really is mobility tracking. They're going to be able to control us moving, you know. Uh, so they're going to control all of energy. Um, I said 300. It's 500 new vaccines. I'm sorry. I misstated that. 300. No, it's 500 new vaccines that they got, that WHO has, World Health Organization. So you're beginning to see that there's cameras everywhere. They're being used to suck in all this data that's then sent to these beast computers, these AI computers, so they can watch everything. And then they, using artificial intelligence and all these algorithms, know how to then control the environment around that person or that animal to steer them in the right direction. And of course, a lot of us want to opt out of this great thing. We don't want any part of their new world order. And if we try to opt out, we're going to have to figure out some way to survive, because when you go to buy food at the store, you're going to be using this digital currency. You go to have a phone or communicate digital. It's all digital. So it's interesting. Since last time I spoke, I talked about CBDC, and the Vanguard is a magazine for plain people. Plain people are like old order Amish, old order Mennonites, and they they are. I've spoken to a number of Amish. Plus, I've read the Vanguard articles, which is for plain people, and they are fully awake to the CBDC, and they're asking themselves the question: how are we going to survive when cash no longer can be used? You know, um, so wow, I went through that. I didn't know how quick I would be able to go through it. I thought that it might last like an hour, but I went through that in about 30 minutes.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I have a few things to add to what you're saying. First of all, what you're saying is you've been saying this for a while, and this is well ahead of its time. And just to back you up on some of the stuff, we're talking about the facial recognition stuff that's going on. We all remember the movie Terminator, where there's an evil eye AI called Skynet. And Skynet was the ones that did all this damage. Well, actually, right now in China, they have something called Skynet, and it's a facial recognition database where they have, geez, I forget how many millions last I checked, and that was a long time ago. They already have that in China right now. They already have the social credit score in China right now. Another thing that you're talking about is the World Health Organization and their jabbies and their cootie stuff, right? Well, it's now they say that they have one that's going to be able to stop fentanyl. And so now they'll be able to have one. Oh well, you know what? You have freckles. Well, don't worry, we have a cootie shot for that too. They're going to be literally everything is going to be solved with that in the future, or so they think. And that's very dystopian because I mean we all saw. I mean I know people, and I really don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but I know people that have gotten three cootie shots, and they still got the cooties, not once, not twice, but three times, and they say, well, I'm glad I got it because it probably would have been way worse. Meanwhile, I've traveled the whole damn country without getting a cootie shot once, and I got cooties, and I never got cooties. So, man, I don't know. But then
yeah, I
also,
never got cooties either, and I didn't get the cootie shot. And a lot of people I know who did get the cootie shot got cooties. So, yeah, and I asked a nurse about all of that. I asked her why, um, you know, 400 of us at my work got fired because we wouldn't take the cootie shot. And everybody that stayed uh, got 5, 6, 7, however many are being given. I've lost track of how many they're giving out. But anyway, at work, everybody got the cootie shots, and yet 300 people a week were coming down with it. So, I pointed this out to a nurse, and she said, "Oh yeah, it doesn't protect you from it, but it sure keeps you from dying."
yeah, yeah, these people are
Uh,
so delusional. It's. I honestly feel bad for some of them because some of them I love dearly, and they just there's this humongous disconnect there, and this goes back to something that I kind of want to bring up with you, which is the mind control, because these things are polar opposites, right? These things don't make any sense. It's cognitive dissonance when you have two opposing thoughts that exist. They're not logical, and they exist in your mind, and these people are normal regular people, but yet this mind control has taken over. I mean, if you could spend a few minutes on that discussing, because it's
well,
just
it's a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking, and I will use the medical profession for this. You know, it used to be 150, 200 years ago, a doctor was constantly experimenting. He went to people's homes. He would try something, and he saw what worked, what didn't, and he's constantly analyzing. But now it's protocols. You have to follow the protocol. And if you deviate from the protocol, you lose your doctor's license, or you could get sued. But as long as you follow the protocol, nobody can sue you or say anything. Doesn't matter what happens due to that protocol. I mean, they almost killed me in September using one of their protocols, and I'm still not recovered from that entirely. And
And that's
thanks for encouraging people to
Yeah, that's
to
what I was going to bring
join
up
my
too. The links are
GoFundMe.
in the description to your GoFundMe. Not only did these idiots almost kill you, but you lost your job because you just didn't want to be a part of some Tuskegee experiment, some New Age Tuskegee experiment. So I really implore you guys to go and support the GoFundMe. The links are in the description. We've been moving steadily up the amount, and I'm very appreciative to everybody that has donated to Fritz. I mean, in my opinion, Fritz is somebody that he shouldn't have to be dealing with this or working or anything. He should be doing what he wants and spending time with his family. He's put in enough work for humanity with his books. And if he wants to come on and talk, then sure, he can do that. But he doesn't. He shouldn't be in a position that like none of us should be in this position because we refused to go along with their system and just wanted to be free, normal human beings. But you know what, Fritz? It's honestly getting worse and worse because as I told you, now they want to do that with fentanyl. But I also have an article here that talks about it seemed to be effective that electroshock has been effective for people that are overeating. Well, of course it is. Yeah, of course. How is that an ethical study? And so that's what you'll see. Like, oh, Fritz, I'm sorry, you've had too many cheeseburgers. Time for the electroshock. But it's even worse than that too. You're talking about how everything has to be green and climate friendly, and this carbon neutral world. Maybe I'll add part of this to the video here. But if you guys haven't heard of the city Neom, the Neom city, which is being built in the desert there. It's like 50 miles long. It's in the desert. It's a smart city. Everything there is self-contained. It's carbon neutral. It's literally the New World Order's wet dream. So if you haven't seen it, look up Neom, guys. It's incredible, and that ties into the Belt and Road Project as well, in which China will which is the new Silk Road. If you haven't heard of the Belt and Road Initiative, the Belt and Road Project, it connects China, it connects some other people that we won't talk about. But look up Neom, right, and go check that out. Sorry, guys, I got a little bit of a head cold today that I'm just getting over here. But yeah, and then there's people that think that people like Elon Musk is some type of savior, and he's the guy that wants to Neuralink us. And we're talking about putting it in you. Well, Neuralink I apparently just got FDA approval. That's really interesting how cannabis, which is a plant which George Washington himself grew, has been a Schedule One drug for a very long time, and that's not FDA approved. But a brain chip that connects to your synapses that gets FDA approval. So this is the weird, bizarre world that we're living in, and then we have things like CRISPR, where you can gene edit and you can pick your own designer babies. To me, I don't like that term CRISPR. I like the term neo-eugenics. This is just eugenics. This is what it is. This is even worse than eugenics because we're playing God by selecting DNA and playing with DNA, and then we have these chips and things that are going to be put in it. And like you were talking about too, I know some people that love the Oculus, and it's like, oh well, it was cool. I was riding a roller coaster. I was flying a plane. And yeah, sure, maybe that is cool to play a video game and you feel like you're really there. But that's how they do it. And you were also talking about because it's new, it's cool. People always love the new cool thing. Talking about the facial recognition. I mean, I work at a cell phone store. I work another job too, but I work at a cell phone store, and almost every from an Android to an iPhone, I don't use it, but that doesn't mean that I still don't have my face because they do. But they have a facial unlock, unlock with your face, and that's commonplace. That's not anything. I mean, I remember 5, 6, 7 years ago, even more. I was telling people, yeah, the phones are listening to you. The phones are listening to you. Well, you're crazy. Fritz has been saying this longer than me. And now it's commonplace. Even my grandma knows. You talk about something, you're going to get an ad popping up for that, right? So it's truly bizarre. And you know, maybe some of this technology is good. I'm not saying I'm the one to decide what's good and what's not good, but I think instead of the Bilderberg group and those type of folks, Council on Foreign Relations folks, the World Economic Forum boys and girls having conversations and deciding what's best for humanity, I think people like everybody. I think as a society we should have a discussion about the future. And now, Fritz, going forward into the future now, I mean, stuff that seemed like science fiction is here. I mean, you're absolutely right. People are going to be in the metaverse, and that's where that people are buying real estate in the metaverse. And quite frankly, I wouldn't, if I had extra money, I would buy real estate in the metaverse too, because unfortunately, that's where people are going to be. You could be rich off of buying a fictional digital property somewhere. I'll just be a slumlord, and I mean, you could retire off that, and it's just really bizarre. And I'll tell you, working at a cell phone store and kids, honestly, the kids are, the parents have some type of discernment, but parents just want to make their kids happy, and every day, I mean, the Android and the iPhone, they're both basically the same damn things. You know what I'm saying? They're both the same thing, but kids don't care. They want an iPhone. They want an iPhone because of the name. I want an iPhone. I want an iPhone. So the thing is, kids are easier to catch, right? Sure, people like Fritz, people like me, we're not going to be wowed or like a Neuralink when humanity's savior Elon Musk is like, don't worry, we have to merge with AI. We're like, okay, what the hell, bro? But the kids are gonna love this. The kids love the new stuff, and so I'm truly frightened. What do you? I mean, what do you see? I mean, and this is one of the things. The year 2030, and we're rapidly coming up on that. It's 2023. Uh, how well do you think they're doing on their goal for the future? What does the future look like in this new digital world? You mean you've kind of been laying it out for us, but how likely do you think it is? And quite frankly, as I'm having this conversation with you, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff here that will happen even before 2030.
Yeah, this whole digital prison, the CBDCs linked to facial recognition, your digital ID, the beast computers, and all which are tied in with all these agendas. Yeah, by 2030, they should have all of this up and running. Um, and there was a lot of things that you said that made me think about the things that I could say. Now, like I heard that in China, they're even welding the door shut, so you're literally trapped in your apartment, and people are being trapped in there for long periods of time, um, and you can't even communicate with people unless you get, you're politically correct, and people are just breaking down and crying and go, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I was against the government, sorry, I'm not doing this, um, so what happened during the lockdown was children were children were in their homes, and so they already started moving in the direction of going to the metaverse. I mean, if you're locked up like these people in China, you're going to want to try to do something to keep sane. Well, how can you do that? Well, you go into the metaverse. So they're pushing people in that direction. They're trying to keep people uh, um, from working outside of the home. Just work at home, and then on your free time you just go into the metaverse. Uh, the mega mega smart cities, they have got an agenda to move us from the countryside into these mega cities. You described one of them. This is what they have in the future, but it's more going to be more like the Hunger Games, where you have districts. Um, and it's all based on lies. And that's why I was bringing out Joe Salatin and his permaculture and how he gets in and see, like here, I'm in Kansas. The buffalo, they would eat the grass, and then their stomachs are 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 digesting and doing stuff with that grass and turning it into biological material. Their stomachs have fluid in there, so they're wet, and then they excrete this out on the ground, and they help the soil. The whole thing, it's an ecosystem, and these people with their simplistic uh, uh, theories are out to lunch. They're not tracking reality. And I would just say, when it comes to tracking reality, I would hope that your listeners don't put their heads in the sand, because that's not a survival technique. People, you need to get in touch with reality. We're going to have to deal with reality. It's not a good survival technique to uh, run from reality. Um, oh, I was going to say something about Australia. I started warning people, or giving a heads up, many, many years. Sometime back in the 90s, that Australia was slated to be uh, New World Order capital. And so I believe, from what I know, that the reason why they're bringing in all this stuff, so first in Australia, why they're coming down so hard on Australia, is they're trying to depopulate Australia because they want to use that for their capital eventually, New World Order capital. Um, that's just my understanding. Uh, can the government stop these LED lights and facial recognition? No, they can't. They can't stop this. This is outside the purview of government. It's going to come in. All this is happening in the cloud and in the beast computers. And if your government made a law that facial recognition is illegal, it's not going to do any good. So people have to realize, anything that's going to uh, help the situation is going to be the people themselves, the people opting out of being part of this whole digital highway, where all of our data is being uh, uh, like a river of data is being sent to these beast computers to control us. So we need to opt out of that.
Yeah.
Uh, think
Data,
twice about having your cell phone with you all the time.
data is the new oil, and is truly crazy. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, I've been working at a cell phone store, and you've heard the things about, 5G bad, or these cell phones. I always use my cell phone on speakerphone. I never keep it like close to my head, whatever. But there's these really cool speakers they sell at my job, and they're really big, really loud. I like my music really loud, right? And I was thinking about, I'm eventually gonna get them because I like my music. Well, I was at least thinking about getting them. And on the back, it says something like cancer and some other like fertility warning on it. And I'm like, what? What?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be able to have kids because I'm listening to music, and maybe that has something to do with the Bluetooth, right? And the thing is, and this is just a thought that right, I always bring this point up, but I never really connect it like this. Radio waves, television waves, internet waves, we know they're there, but we can't see them, right? So there's these Bluetooth waves, and, one of the things that people underestimate, and this is a solution here, in my opinion, is every thought that you think emits a frequency, right? And they've done studies like the double slit experiment to show that your thoughts, and just the mere act of observation can literally change a particle to a wave or vice versa. So your mind is a very powerful thing, and I would say continue to be positive and wake people up. But conversely, I'm sure these people know that, and they're flooding the airwaves with all these negative vibrations and Bluetooth and the 9G, and all this other stuff. And goodness gracious, I mean, I don't know if this video is going to stay up, but but if it doesn't, well, it'll be live on psyop.tv, SYOP .tv, and one of the things that I find pretty fascinating about all this is, you know, it just makes us. It could be affecting us. I'm just going to leave it like that for so this video will stay up. I did want to draw folks' attention to this also too. Um, Pentrax.com. I don't know how well you guys can see that there, but yeah, Pentrax.com. This is Fritz's new website. It's on the mobile browser here. But on Pentrax.com, you can get Fritz's latest articles. But also, if you go right here to this little hamburger icon right there, and you click it. Sorry, I know this is not optimum, but you can click down here, and this is where there's my lovely Klaus Schwab. I know you guys are having trouble seeing this, but donate. This is where you can donate. You can donate on the GoFundMe link right there, or the PayPal. So I'm keeping track here. I want to make sure we're at 25.94. Let's help Fritz. I mean, Fritz not only has dedicated his life and his physical health and to exposing tyranny across the world, and he's been ahead of the curve for a long time. He's one of the people that I admire the most. He's literally like the top 5, top 3 of the people that do what he does. We're all standing on Fritz's shoulders, and for that reason alone, go over there and donate. For the reason that he wouldn't give up his safety because the man told him to take the cooties. And then also he had a terrible accident recently, which has been sidelining him. So I really want us to get to that goal, and it'll make me feel better about myself if we can get Fritz to that goal. So it's pentrax.com. The links are in the description, as is GoFundMe. But you go to pentrax.com, and the links there donate. Also, he's got articles that are exclusive there. Some idiot online hacked Fritz, and he better hope I never catch him in an alley, but because I will love him because he's my enemy. But I'll love him, but I'll love him. I'll love him. I don't want to, but Fritz taught me I'll love him. But yeah, you can get his articles there, and soon we're gonna have his books in physical and digital copies there. So and Fritz, he may be a little apprehensive about getting his Facebook going and some of the either the Instagram or the YouTube. It just offends me personally that other people are using Fritz's name on YouTube and making money off of that, and some of them aren't even Fritz's videos. So I mean, like, that's just disrespectful to me. So we're gonna see if we can figure that out behind the scenes as well. I did want to ask you to comment also. I'm not sure. Have you heard at all about the Balenciaga scandal? If not, I can summarize it. So basically, Balenciaga is a very, very high fashion label, and they work with people like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West and all this other stuff. They're very hoity-toity, rich and famous type people. Well, recently there was outrage, which it initially started from people like myself and you, who, all these people that they learn from you. And they had some BDSM. They basically had like some weird sexual stuff, and kids posing with these. Now it wasn't kids posing with bears that had like these weird teddy bears that had these weird sexual outfits on. They had these kids laid out where like their intestines were out on the ground, and they had a court case about CP file there. And it was actually very impressive that they have received some backlash as a result of that. The funny thing is, and we talked yesterday on my channel, and if you guys haven't seen, well, it's not yesterday now because we're recording it, but the recent interview I did with Memory Hold, this is not an isolated event in the fashion world. And of course, if anybody's been following this channel for a while, you have Jeffrey Epstein, very tied to MC Squared models. Also, John Luke Brunel, his fashion thing. Then the guy that financed Jeffrey was Les Wexner, the Victoria's Secret guy. And then you have other people that connect to the Clintons and some other people that own a place somewhere in some place, which I can't say because I want this video to get to people. But we do have this consistent theme of people tied with fashion and their predilection towards weird, creepy stuff. A lot of it involving kids. I was just wondering what your take is on that. And this is something that you've been uncovering for a long time, is not just fashion, but these elite people, and they always seem to do weird shit with kids.
Yeah, yeah, lots of weird stuff. Uh, the sky's the limit on what they do with children. Yeah, I was thinking about that recent play where they try to make you sympathetic for the the um, the guy who rapes children because he goes to prison and he gets paralyzed, and so it's supposed to make you sympathetic for him. Um, so yeah, that's just one example of many things out there which are trying to promote pedophilia and make people feel comfortable with it. Uh, the thing of it is, people, is when you do these things to children, it scars them for their life. It's not something that they get over and go on. It's not like falling and getting a little boo boo and then you pick yourself up and you forget about it. It scars them for life. It's sad. And our society is totally upside down. Whatever is good is called bad. Whatever is bad is called good. And it's just that simple across the board. And it goes along with everything else that's happening.
Yeah, and it's the normalization of it, and also it's the dehumanization, and it ties exactly into what you were writing in your books, and that's the perfect way to make somebody a mind controlled slave is when you abuse them, especially at an early age. And it's funny. I'm not going to name any names, but there's some powerful people with some weird children. Let's just put it that way. And part of me feels bad for those children, and but also I know that there's other people out there that just because something terrible happened to you, that's not an excuse to you for you to go ahead and do something terrible to other people. I mean, for every Jeffrey Dahmer, there were other people that had abuses occur to them who uh, did not do horrific or terrible things.
It's
So
interesting that Elon Musk has said that there was no sin that his father didn't do. So use your imagination on that. I mean, the sky's the limit as to what his father did. Then what's that say about Elon Musk?
yeah, yeah, and that's a great point. I actually did not know that, and my dad's not a perfect guy, but there's certain sins that he didn't do. Right? He didn't rape anybody. He didn't murder anybody. He didn't diddle a kid. Right? He may have did some other things, but there are certain sins my dad didn't do, and I'm thankful to that. And I'm also thankful to Fritz because I feel like he's a father figure to me as well too. I mean, like I always say, the first time I got a chance to interview Fritz back in either 2016 or 2015, back on my radio show, I literally couldn't sleep the first night. I was like, damn, I'm gonna interview Fritz Springmeier. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is a guy that I've watched every single one of his videos. He helped wake me up, and like, this guy is a legend. This guy is like a living legend, and I feel very fortunate to be able to have you. And I know a lot of people feel like that too. Whenever we do a video, we get people commenting, "Oh my God, it's so great to see Fritz! Oh my God!" Everyone says a positive comment. We do get a couple weird comments. That's not Fritz. That's somebody else. Like, okay, maybe there are some clones out there, but I've met Fritz in real life. If this is a Fritz clone, they got the perfect beard and the perfect voice down. I mean, his voice sounds exactly like it does when he was giving those speeches uh, back in the day at the Prophecy Club, where he said, "I'm going to serve in the Lord's army" after he left West Point. Right? I mean, this is the same guy. And these people are just ridiculous. They're the same people that think I'm a reptilian because red and black Raptors hat. Right? You know what I'm saying? That he's got to be a reptilian, right? So Fritz, I appreciate you joining, and I appreciate you staying up a little later with us too, just because of the technical difficulties. And that's one other thing that you guys have to appreciate about this is I literally did a stream last night, as the time of I'm recording this, with memory hold, went off without a hitch. We're talking about really dark stuff too. We're talking about dark stuff. And memory hold's another guy that's standing on the shoulders of Fritz Springmeier. Everything went great. The video smooth. He was able to, not only did it go well, but he was able to pull up flow charts and websites and graphics. I get here with Fritz and it's like, oh my God, we're on the third attempt here trying to do this. So we're very, very lucky to have Fritz. So again, the links are in the description. I really will be checking for donations. It's Christmas time right now too, man. Let's help Fritz and his family have a good Christmas. Again, not only did he put his financial well-being on the line, but he put his physical health on the line for all of us. He gave his life to humanity, and to me, that's one of the most admirable things that you can do. And that's one other things that I did want to say. I was talking about it earlier. We are talking about hip hop artists with somebody at work, and I'm not talking about the hip hop artist is like, yo, I'll go smack your bitch and sell crack to your mom's dog. No, I'm not talking about that. I literally woke up off hip hop artists like the Wu-Tang Clan, who were talking about the Illuminati, who were talking about third eyes, who were talking about microchips and cootie shots being tested in prison populations. This is back in the day. People were talking in the 80s about the New World Order and the Illuminati, these rappers. Not the rappers you hear on the radio, but real rappers. And today's theme was technology. And I want to give a shout out to my favorite rapper, Can I Bus? And he said this quote, and I think it's very apropos. He says, technology is a blessing, but it's also a weapon of mass destruction, giving global instruction, programming us to hate, but does it in a way that we love it. And it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary because he was right. And again, people like him literally grew up off of Fritz Springmeier. So it's always a pleasure, Fritz, to talk with you. Living legend. We're going to get your GoFundMe up there. Pentrax will continue to be updated. It looks awesome. And we're actually going to be revamping it yet again. We just, I don't want to give too much a cat of the bag, but we're going to be revamping it even more and more and more and more. We're continually doing things behind the scenes. We're purchasing different themes and domains and stuff like that. And this is where you can see his articles right now. So the only place that you can find his articles is pentrax.com. The link's in the description. And finally, folks, it's up to you. It's up to you. Fritz can do these videos. I can do these videos. And we will continue to do these videos. But once someone steals Fritz's YouTube, once someone steals Fritz's Facebook, once someone steals Fritz's work in another avenue, it's the outlets for Fritz and I to get this information out are becoming slimmer and slimmer. We're widening those, but it really depends on you guys. So share this video with everybody possible. Share pentrax.com with everybody possible. And make sure that you get this video out. And again, the links to donate for his PayPal and the GoFundMe are in the description. And I look forward to having Fritz again on the show very soon. Again, as Fritz knows, anytime he wants to come on, I'll just shut the hell up, which would be difficult, but I'll try. And I'll just shut the hell up. And Fritz, if he ever wants my YouTube password, he can have it and just go live whenever he wants to. But he has to be careful with some of those words. Some of those words are going to be careful. Maybe we'll electroshock Fritz if he says some of those words. All right, just kidding, guys. Thanks for joining. Pentrax.com, pentrax.com, pentrax.com. God bless, guys. Thank you very much. Good night.
No.
See if this.
We did it. Thanks for your